Do you hear an echo? Is that an echo? What's happening, guys? It's
Do you hear an echo?
yeah, I hear an echo.
Is that an echo? What's going Yeah, I hear an echo.
I'm gonna try to get to the bottom of this echo. You know, life is just complicated, I guess.
I'm gonna try to get to the bottom of this echo. You know, life is just complicated, I guess.
Okay, what about now? Seems like we're good. Seems like we're good. Okay, anyways, I wanted to call your attention to this router. It's on a telephone pole. It's not a telephone pole. What am I saying? This is a street lamp. You got the lamps, and then you have the router, and then that goes down into this thing, and then you have this like larger sort of right, and it's obviously this is the chipset in here. You can see the heat sort of. What do they call that? So it can dissipate the heat, little slats here, but that's the actual small cell here. And I figure, I'm just gonna keep showing these, the ones that I observe, so you too can recognize your router. So you can see these out in the world and recognize them for what they are. Oftentimes, this actual housing is built into the lamp itself, like it's around the major pole. This must have been like like a retrofit or something. So obviously there's tons of different ways to go about setting these up, but I thought this was a good combo shot. You got the clouds. That was today, right? Or yesterday, April. What? April 30th. Pretty generic sort of cloud day, as far as I'm concerned. It's hard to always pay attention to everything. You literally can't always pay attention to everything, so you pay attention to different things and see how that feels, I guess. But I wanted to show you this other image real quick because this is very confusing to me. May not seem like much, right? This is outside. This is like a little battery powered light. And as you can see, it's glowing in the dark. This is just your standard sort of picture. And you can see that it's on. These batteries have been dead for months at this point. Just they've been dead. These batteries don't work anymore. And yet on certain nights under certain conditions the light will turn on. You can see it glowing. You can see it. It's on. But these batteries are dead. And it's very confusing to me. I have another one sort of right over here, and it does not work the same way. That one's dead. That one doesn't work. Those batteries are done. I should replace the batteries maybe, but I've been studying this thing because it's just so fascinating to me that yeah, depending on the night, it's whatever's in the air, this thing will resurrect itself basically. It'll come back to life and be glowing faintly. Where this energy is coming from, I'm really not sure. It's honestly very baffling to me. And I'll keep an eye out for it. But yeah, I just caught a snap of that just now because it's not always on, but it is on right now, and that's just just trying to track the strangeness. All right, so we're just gonna go through some news. When you see stories all over the place, when you see the same story sort of rehashed and recombined from all sorts of different news sources, it's obviously coincidence, right? It's just a random occurrence that everybody sort of decided to hit on this thing. Maybe they saw somebody else's article was getting clicks, and they're like, oh, well, we gotta run an article about that because clicks are going out. And no, that's not how it works. There's obviously like a plan, because there's just too much media out there for this to go just sort of willy-nilly and have people lagging behind, basically. Because as soon as everybody wakes up, right, the story has to be out. And it has to be out on a whole bunch of different platforms because, well, they're not sure which one you're going to look at. So you really, they got to paper it wall to wall. So this is just, what are these guys, Washington Post? But this was all in the news today that apparently Mueller is mad at Barr's letter. It didn't explain his report well enough, right? And here you got this classic picture of him being pissed AF. That's the pissed AF face, obviously. And he's mad because his report was misrepresented by this letter. The letter sort of softballed it, and apparently that's, Barr is just a Trump lackey, and he tried to softball it. And Mueller doesn't agree, and this is just, I don't know how many times I saw this article pop up. It was just over and over again. Mueller is mad at the representation of it. You honestly think that's what's going on here? That this guy is mad about how things were rolled out, about his report that they did for 2 whatever million years and spent infinite money. You think he left the rollout of the info completely? You think they left the rollout of this info, the Mueller report, completely to chance? Do you think that was just, let's just see what happens? That would be insanely risky, especially with all the money that they spent making this happen. Why would they do that? So, again, it's the season. It is the season for sacrifice, apparently. That's what happens towards the end of, what's it called? These guys, April. So, a bunch of different shootings. We had the Game of Thrones episode, and, here's just another one thrown in the mix because, the same with these news stories. Maybe not everybody was living in New Zealand and heard about the horrible thing that happened there, or maybe not everybody heard about the synagogue where people got shot. So just to throw in, another one for good measure. 2 dead, 4 injured after shooting at University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And probably just a horrible thing that happened randomly, not related to the other events in any sort of meaningful way. There just happens to be a lot of mass shootings every end of April. That's just, that's how it was last year and the year before that and the year before that, and that's just how it goes. I don't know, people get all riled up this time of year. Maybe they were hoping for a date in the spring and it just didn't work out, and so they take their rage out. It gets sublimated. And right, I'm focused sort of on the spread, how things just repeat over and over again. You see something and then you see it again, and it's like, oh, well, there's a mass shooting. Well, which mass shooting are you talking about? Because there's like 4 in this last week that are getting major traction, right? That remains to be seen what the actual numbers are and what kind of mass shootings are actually happening day in, day out. Right, but they all have the same kind of format. The entire community, super sad. We better do something about this. Guns are bad. Mental health is bad. We should try to figure this out. But, we haven't yet, so crying people. In the same sort of variation on that theme, there is this, very obviously staged fake coup that didn't work out. Or I guess I don't want to give up the full possibility of there being any sort of logical real actors in the political sphere or in any other places, because there's definitely a lot of useful idiots in this whole setup. which makes it seem like, yeah, there is no master plan because people are just getting pushed around from one thing to the next, and a lot of people that you do talk to aren't, even ones that are involved in high up stuff, be it government, entertainment, other sort of standard illumin, not what is that word? Not allowed to say it. Those types of people, right? But a lot of even in those industries, in the news, and the government, and politics, and entertainment, all those things, that you can be fully integrated into the system. You can be rocking all of the Masonic symbolism and doing all these things subconsciously, right? And maybe you do think you're on the right team or the wrong team, or in your fight you got to fight against the other team. Maybe you truly believe that. But that doesn't mean that the whole system from the top down isn't sort of organized and funneled in a certain way, because people are just crazy easy to manipulate. I would recommend that to be your first sort of leap in understanding that people are simple. People are so easy to trick. They're so easy to fool. It's just so easy. I mean, I do it with people all the time. You tell them like a lie, basically, and see if they believe it. Like something really off the wall, just about a daily life. Maybe their car got towed, or relative got ran over or something. And a lot of times, right? You can just they're gonna believe it. They're really gonna just go with you on it. So, what is to keep people with insane amounts of money and plans for the future? What's to stop them from doing that? What's to stop them from making a plan? Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's a massive, large, 100-year-long agenda. But regardless, I mean, wouldn't you? If you had $1 billion, if you really had sort of infinite money and were bored as hell, and right, you bought everything you ever needed, and you're just bored. So, what do you do when you're bored? You fuck with people. That's what I would do, probably. So, anyways, this coup is happening. Apparently, it failed. Right, this guy is wrapping up his blog. Oil prices are having a problem, but the big news was that what's his name? Who's the guy that they're all backing? Not Maduro's the bad guy, and yeah, Guaido. Guaido is obviously backed by government and America, and that whole situation. They're trying to get him in, and that's I forget his name. The same guy that's been screwing up this South America for a super long time has been put in charge of Venezuela, and it's obviously coming to a head. There's something going on here, and hopefully they can just make a choice either way pretty soon, so people can actually start to eat stuff down there. Definitely is a major testing ground in Venezuela for how much load that people can bear. How much can you handle? You think you're pissed now? Like, do you think you can handle only eating like once or twice every couple days, not having running water, having to go to communal showers and all that? Could you picture that here in America? Because right, they're testing to see what the Venezuelans can bear, and it seems to be a lot. They can really push them pretty far, while the rest of the world is remaining civilized and cruising around. And yeah, it's still just chaos out there. And then that was the big news, basically, that Guaido busted out these Humvees and then apparently drove over some pedestrians, and that was just unacceptable. And it didn't work out, basically. Maduro's still crushing it. But that's my big question here, too. Like, obviously, I've read a lot about this new guy, Guaido. They're trying to push him, and he's the right guy, and he went to the right schools, and he went to all the think tanks, and he's ready to lead this country in the right way. But Maduro keeps beating him back. This has already happened multiple times. That there was a coup staged. Remember something blowing up. This is probably fourth or fifth time that this has been running sort of major frontline news that, yeah, there's a coup, attempted coup. I don't think it was always Guaido that was doing it, but, he's sort of the flavor of the month. And this Venezuela really has been spiraling for an insane amount of time, years at this point, and nobody seems to do anything or want to do anything. It's baffling to me because it could probably be fixed pretty easily. But again, that's not the point. The point is to take a civilized nation and plunge it into poverty and chaos and see how the people react. It's all just an experiment, right? So I was following that trip of everybody being annoyed with Game of Thrones being dark. I was seeing a bunch of articles today, right? If you didn't, I didn't see it in game yet, so I don't want to read the spoilers, but I pulled up 2 articles here, and this has really become sort of a major tradition in, right? IO9 is supposed to be writing about the future, and they're doing this clickbaity sort of identity politic media critique. So, right, Endgame, good. Flashy fights, fan service, humor. It was entertaining, right? Good movie, apparently. I'll definitely have to check it out. But this whole article, and you don't really even have to read it to know what they're going to say. They're pissed that there wasn't enough women. They deserve more. The women weren't properly represented in this film. There was just too many dudes, and that is not good. That's not how you make TV these days. That's not how you make entertainment. It has to be about the women. It has to be about the powerful, ultra badass women that are the heroes and the anti-heroes and basically everything else in between. It better be about a powerful woman. You better not see any guys hitting on girls, because that is just not what you do anymore. That is not okay. Stop hitting on girls, because girls are in charge now. I mean, women, sorry. Is that a microaggression? Women. Women are in charge now. And even though, right, Marvel itself is probably one of the major influencers in the world now for public opinion about what you should be and how you should act and what is important. And they're getting called to task by all sorts of different people for, oh, sure, wait, you made $1 billion in the first weekend, whatever. But, there wasn't enough women. You didn't talk about the women. They were props. They're to support the stories of the guys. And it's time we talked about it. And there's so many articles like this these days. Thing offended me. They thought it was okay, but it super offended me. And it's not okay. We need to talk about this, right? And that's just, I mean, I guess it works on some people. That you would be like, yeah, I liked Avengers, but it really needed more women. The women were just not properly represented, and Marvel really needs to get, behind the times, because this is just not. I don't appreciate it. I really don't appreciate it. So here's another one. It was brilliant, great movie, but the fat shaming broke my heart. My heart is broken because they made a joke about fat people in the movie, and it's just too much. You can't just go around making fun of everybody. That's just not okay. You should be offended too, even if you're not fat. You should be outraged for the overweight community, or what do we call them? I'm not sure, actually. I'm microaggressioning all over the place, but obviously, the movie was okay. It was okay. Actually, it was brilliant. Fantastic movie. Unbelievable movie. You should definitely go see Avengers Endgame. But when you hear the fat joke, definitely, raise your hand or just do some kind of public display of defiance in the theater, because we all know how wrong that is. And so, right? They made this good movie, but that was not the point. That was problematic that they made a good movie. They should have been focused more on the groups that they were marginalizing, because that is really the main, right. This sort of, these articles show the point of entertainment these days. The point is to influence you about social norms and talk about what you should be feeling about certain groups and certain people, and how you should be reacting to certain situations. Right? And maybe, again, with this whole chicken and the egg, maybe that was part of the whole plan, that, like, we're going to do Endgame. It's going to crush. It's going to be super good. But we're not going to focus on the women too much. And then we're going to bring it back after everybody has seen it and say, God damn it, this movie's so good, but it would have been better, not ruined, if it was mostly about identity politics. You know, any sort of anything else has to go to the background, because you really got to check all these boxes. And I got to check it out, because honestly, like, I'm sure there's some other marginalized groups that were made fun of, or put down in some way in this movie. And right, when you're making this much money, when you got this many eyeballs on your content, you really got to watch out. No fat shaming, no no anything, no bad feelings about anything. Just don't do it. And that's why I pulled up this article, because I think this was, I feel like I saw this back in the day. But teen suicide spiked after debut of 13 Reasons Why. It was, what can you say? It was definitely sort of a glorification of, and a reasoning of suicide in the high school age, because if people are making your life tough, then why keep going? Because high school is like the most important part of life, and if you don't crush high school, then like the rest of your life is going to be ruined anyways. So if you don't crush high school, you should actually kill yourself. That's what you should do. Not that that's really how the movie it portrays it. I mean, it glorifies it a little bit. I thought it wasn't that bad of a show. A little whiny, right? But they did this study, warned the program could lead to copycat suicides. And they did a real study on this, showing there was a 28 or 29% increase in suicide among Americans 10 to 17, and that this was directly correlated to 13 Reasons Why. I'm not sure how they could directly correlate that. There's a lot of reasons that people commit suicide. I don't know if the people left in do you think people left in their suicide note, I killed myself because of 13 Reasons Why? Like, you think somebody must have done that? I mean, that's dark AF, but there's a good chance that somebody said 13 Reasons Why it made me kill myself. And I'm going to join whatever her face is now in the future, or the past, or the soul stream, whatever you want to call it. But this is just a very powerful, I would say, confirmation of the power of entertainment. Whatever they put up on screen, people are going to copycat. People are going to think it's sexy because it is on screen, and they made a movie about it. They made a show about it, and it doesn't matter what it is. If it's pedophilia, if it's suicide, if it's whatever. Like, whatever you want to sort of soften up and start to make okay, you gotta make a show about it. Glorifying, not glorifying, just, it doesn't even need to be glorified, just put it out there. Have suicide be the main focus of the show, and then run the little, like, if you're feeling bad, call the suicide hotline sign. Because, right, they did a study with cigarettes. If they put the warning on the label, it actually generates more desire and more cravings in smokers. If you have the ugly picture of the lung and the baby, like, dying, and you're right, all those horrible pictures. They don't have them in America, but in Europe they have horrible pictures, in most places all over the world. And here you still have some warnings about, right, Surgeon General, don't do this, don't do that. And what they found psychologically is that those warnings and those labels actually spike the cravings, that it makes smokers and other people want to smoke more. And but then I guess it's polarizing, just like everything in this world. The people that don't smoke are gonna think even worse of smokers, because then they look at the propaganda. I mean, the labeling, and say, "Oh, damn! Well, smoking is literally like Hitler. Smoking cigarettes might as well, right? What are other equivalents? It's possibly the worst thing that you could do as a member of society is use tobacco. And it kills people, blah de blah. Not to compare this with anything else that kills people, like radiation or other stuff, but the point is, I guess, as always, that people are really easy, really easy to manipulate. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, like it should make you feel uncomfortable, because the only way to stop getting the fuck manipulated out of you is to recognize that this is basically how the world works. Everything out there these days is pushing an opinion. It's trying to get you to think something, to say something, to know something, and then to repeat it back in, a similar social situation. There really is some sort of truth out in this world, though, even if it is all covered up and agendified and it's exhausting after a while. But I do read little snippets, little articles like this that lets you peek at what, what really is going on in the background. Apparently there's a group of top secret scientists that do super weird ass research. Weird shit, like the weird shit. And they lost their contract with the DOD, I want to say. The Jasons. And this is apparently a real group, shrouded in mystery. Argonauts, right? Bunch of stuff. And I've heard this from a bunch of alternative sources that, yeah, there's crazy groups out there doing the most batshit research, like way beyond anything that you could possibly imagine. And it's not for us. It's not for the general public, because there's other things going on that you don't know about, that I don't know about, that even they don't know about. Compartmentalization makes the truth easy to obfuscate. I'm gonna get out of here. That's 2 days in a row. We'll see how this see how it goes. It's good to talk to you guys. If you actually were paying attention and processed any of this information, I'd love to see a comment from you. So let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. Fake Truth out.